Hello and welcome back to yet another Jira video. My name is Alex with Dave Tech Tutorials, and today we're going to be taking a look at an overview of the Jira Navigation. This is a very introductory. You've never used Jira before, and you're in a project or you're somewhere in the interface and you're like, what is this? And what did I get myself into? This video is going to be for you. I will be doing more in-depth videos where I explain to you how to use Jira. All right, we're going to go into the mechanics of how to use it every day, but we're not going to cover that in the scope of this video. So if that is interesting to you, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you drop a like in this video and let me know in the comments if that's interesting. But for the purposes of this one, we're going to be talking about the navigation bar. We're going to be talking about the left pane, and we're going to be talking about just in general what you need to know in Jira to kind of get started and at least not get overwhelmed by all the information that is presented to you. So let's jump into the video and let's start talking about Jira. Okay, so this is the Jira interface. This video is really dedicated for the folks that are just users of Jira. I've had a couple of other videos where I've walked you through how to create a Jira project. And I've also done a series on all the project level administration things that you can do, right? If that is something that you're interested, make sure you go check out those two video series. But this series of videos here is going to be really focused around using Jira as an everyday user, right? So you're just an individual contributor to a team and you want to update your team on the valuable work that you're working on, right? And so to do that, it all starts with knowing how to navigate Jira and how to find the things that you want. So this first video in this series is going to be navigation overview. Then we're going to go deeper into different areas of Jira so that you can basically learn to be very productive in the tool. This tool, a lot of the big complaints that I usually hear like within the community is that Jira is too much, right? It does too much for me and I can't focus on the stuff that I want to actually do. So I'm going to try to help peel back those onions or those layers so that you can have clarity into how Jira works fundamentally and how you can make Jira work for you. Because I am a very firm believer of making Jira work for you and not you work for Jira, right? Jira can be applied for pretty much any business case. And it's just a matter of understanding the uniqueness of Jira and how you can customize it for your specific needs, right? And it all starts with understanding Jira. So let's talk. We're just going to go across the left, move our way across the navigation bar. and yeah, you're going to walk away from this video being a lot smarter with how Jira works. So the first thing is this little grid. If your company has purchased multiple if your company has purchased multiple Atlassian products, Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, Jira Service Management, right? Those are all things that you can basically have available to you here in this little Atlassian start menu so that you can very easily switch to those applications. So unlike other tools where you have to have like Microsoft Word open in one like application and then you have to open up Excel in another one, Jira is all software based, right? And they're the sister products of Jira, which is like Confluence, right? Because Jira and Confluence usually go hand in hand very well. And Bitbucket too, for that matter, right? You can very easily toggle between them just by going through this little grid menu. I think this is a very valuable use or feature because I find myself having to switch between Jira and Confluence a lot, right? And so if you don't want to remember the URL or you don't want to bookmark or open another tab, just come to the little grid, click on the other tool, and you're going to be transported to that tool magically. So that's that first one. Jira software here is a hyperlink. So basically wherever you're at in Jira, it's just going to bring you back to your home, whatever you define that to be. We'll talk about that in a future video on how to configure that. Now your work is the first place that I'm going to basically start talking about, because from an individual contributor or even just a user of Jira, your work is where you find the most value. So in your work, right? When you log in here, this is going to basically highlight and showcase all of the work that you are responsible for. And I don't know about you, but as an individual contributor, that's probably the most important thing, right? Because I might not necessarily care too much about everything else that the team's doing, right? I mean, I want to have insight, but that shouldn't be my daily focus, right? My focus is, what do I need to be working on today so that I can stay employed, right? And so if you come to your work, the first thing you're going to do or see is what's assigned to me, right? This is the work that I'm responsible for because somebody somewhere in my organization has assigned this issue to me and I should be taking some action on it. So this is a very easy way for you to go and look at that work. Next up are recent. So this is kind of like your browser history in like Chrome or Edge or Safari or whatever you use, right? Where Jira is going to go and remember the last few things that you worked on. Now, worked on is defined as something that you've touched, right? So you've added a comment, or you changed a field, or you added a field information, right? Like you've done some update to the ticket where you actually had some sort of input, right? Maybe you changed the status, something like that, right? And so that's just going to remember the last few things. I forget how many it actually remembers, but you're going to at least see 5, 10, maybe 15 different last things that you've worked on, right? Mine is really new because I just started the project and I haven't really been interacting with it. But as you interact with Jira, this list is going to grow. The second thing is viewed. So this is slightly different because the worked on requires you to put some input, right? It requires you to click and maybe type, right? Versus viewed is literally just Jira being nosy, if you will, and they're watching you. I'm trying to make this not sound creepy, but essentially it's another browsing history kind of thing, except this is a little bit more passive, right? This is just watching which projects have you visited, which boards have you visited, which filters have you visited, right? So it's just remembering, it's like leaving a trail of crumbs, right? And it's just reminding you of where have you been in your past. So if you wanted to jump to it, you can jump to it easily. And then the last thing here is boards. And so a Jira project is a collection of Jira where you put Jira issues into, right? And a board is a way to visualize that work as shown in my screen here, right? It's just, you get this rectangular view of really what they're called a card, right? And you can move that card around. So these cards, right? They're still Jira issues, but fundamentally they look like a card and they're housed in a board. A Jira project, if you look here, can have multiple boards. See, I can create another board. And we're going to go in depth into that a little later. But for now, just know that you could be a part of a variety of different boards, right? Because if you're working on different efforts or different teams, each team or every effort may have its own separate board. So if you kind of get just overwhelmed of like, where's this issues that I'm supposed to be working on? Come to the boards and try to see if you can refresh your memory there. So those are the 3 different things that you can do here very quick. And you'll notice that there's a go to your work page. So let's look at that real quickly. And basically you get the same information I just spoke about, but in like just a dedicated page. So this is a great view. Again, if you don't want to just use the shortcuts, you can see the worked on, you can see your viewed, you can see your assigned to me. And one little thing that you get here that you didn't get on the other one is you get your stars. And so what this starred means is kind of like when you bookmark a page in like the web browser, you can bookmark projects, you can bookmark filters, you can bookmark dashboards, right? You can bookmark pretty much anything you want in Jira and it'll show up here as a list, right? So if something is important to you or valuable and you want to come back and quickly reference it, you would want to click on this start and it'll just basically show you that laundry list of all the work. All right, let's go to projects. All right, so projects is interesting. Depending on your organization and the permissions that you have or your role in the organization, this is either going to be super valuable or it's going to be super boring. So let's talk about recent first. So what recent is going to do is Jira is going to remember the last 5 Jira projects that you visited. Okay. If you only have access to 1 or 2 projects, it's only going to show you those 1 or 2 projects. But if you're like me, I'm usually a site administrator, so I'm jumping around all the projects, right? It's going to show you the last 5. This is more of a convenience feature than anything else, right? It just lets you quickly jump into a project so you can go do something. Okay, so that's pretty much it. view all projects. When you click on this, this is going to show you a laundry list of the projects that you have access to. If you don't have access to them, you won't see them. That does not mean they don't exist. It just means that you specifically haven't been granted access to that project. Okay, so this is very important, right? Because a lot of people get tripped up and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't find this project. And then they're getting really scared, but it's like, well, it's not that you can't find the project, it's that maybe you don't have access to it. As a site administrator, there's going to be a little side note for site administrators, right? You should be able to see all the projects. And the unlikely event that you cannot see a project, that means that it's really locked down, tighter than Fort Knox. You'd actually have to come to the settings here and then go to projects. And this will then show you all of the projects, regardless of the permissions, because now you will have the ability to jump into them. Note, this only works if you are a site administrator. If you're not, then disregard this last couple of minutes here. But I just wanted to highlight that because a lot of people, again, they kind of get scared or they're worried and they're like, I'm supposed to be able to see a project. I can't see it. What's going on? It's like they just haven't given you access, right? And so I'll have a video on access and all that stuff, so you can go look at that. But for the most part, you're just going to see what you can see here. Now, the last thing here that you may have seen is create projects. So this is interesting, right? So this is going to be there regardless of your role or power in Jira. But two things are going to happen. One, you're not going to be able to create a project because your company has strategically disabled the ability for individual contributors to create projects, which is a good thing. I think when you give too much power to people, they're gonna really clutter your Jira. So I would recommend that if you're a site administrator and you're listening to this video, go to your global configuration, right? Go to global permissions. Scroll all the way down to create team managed projects and turn that off. You see how anybody who can log into my account can make this, delete this, right? You don't want this feature, because that means that any user in your company can come in and create a project. So when they click on that create button, they're going to be able to go through all this, and then what they'll see is this blue will be it'll be grayed out, but the purple is going to be very much alive, and they're going to be able to create as many team projects as they want. And a lot of teams get into trouble later, and this is why they spend a lot of money to hire me to kind of come and help them, because they don't cut the head of the snake, right? Like, they understand they have a problem and they're trying to figure out, well, how is this problem happening? It's because you have this team managed projects available to anybody. So cut that out by deleting that role, as I just did right now, and you're going to drastically limit the number of orphan projects to just create it with no purpose, right? As a site administrator, though, you definitely are going to want to be able to create projects. So if you have site level administration privileges within Jira, when you create that create project, you're going to get all this, right? You're going to see the Scrum, you're going to see everything, and you're going to be able to create either a team or company. And if you don't know what the differences are, I've made an in-depth video into all this, so go make sure you check out those videos. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and make sure you drop a like on this video. But yeah, you'll be able to then create a project. So this create projects, again, while it's visible to everybody, it's only going to have value to either A, everybody, because you haven't disabled that ability to create team managed projects, or B, it's going to be valuable to only your site administrators that can now only they can create projects. So that's that. All right. Let's transition over to filters. So what is a filter? So a filter is basically a search, right? On the right side here, you have the ability to search anything you want in Jira. And if you do a search, right? So I clicked on search, advanced search. You notice that there's a save as button here. And so if I'm constantly looking for, like, show me all the high priority tickets, show me all the tickets that are done, show me all the tickets that are assigned to me, show me all the tickets that, I don't know, whatever you want, right? Whatever your query is, you can save that by clicking the save as and name it something. All right, my first filter. And when you do that, then it shows up in these filters, right? And so now you can refer back to them. You can give them the little star so they show up, right, in your start, or so that they show up in the start over here, so you can get to them quicker. You can also share them. So there's a detail section here. I don't want to get into too much detail because we're going to do dedicated videos on this, but you can edit your permissions and you can share your filters with others, right? So when they go to view all filters, they're going to be able to see, similar to projects, they're going to be able to see all the filters that are assigned to them and that they have access to. So really powerful stuff, because if your team is consistently doing the same search over and over and over because it's just part of your daily like adjudication of tickets or issues, having a shared filter is going to drastically cut down time or setup time for people. And reason number 2 why you want to filter is when you go to dashboards, your dashboards, most of those gadgets, and again, we're going to have dedicated videos just on this, but when you go and make a dashboard and you add a gadget here, I won't actually go into just yet, those gadgets can be driven from the filter. So it just depends on the gadget you use, but most of them, if not all of them, are going to at least give you the option to go refer back to the filter. Also, if you're, and again, this is more of an advanced topic, but if you're ever using like external plugins, or you're trying to connect to like Excel or Google Sheets, right? You can now just bring in that filter information, right? Instead of bringing everything in from Jira. So filters are really powerful to search stuff, because one of the reasons why teams use Jira over pretty much any other agile project management tool is because of its search capabilities. Now, we are going to go in depth, guaranteed, into JQL, which is Jira's query language. So if you haven't already, again, starting to sound like a broken record, but please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you drop a like. And if you want to have any specific questions about any of this, make sure you drop those questions in the comments. I'll address them either in the comments, or I'll make a video about it in the future. So make sure you are interacting here with the community. And so those are those dashboard filters. The dashboards, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is just basically, dashboards are cool. They're interesting. I think they're grossly underpowered within Jira, because it's like you're trying to run a marathon, but like your bike's flat, but you still have a bike, but it's just flat, and like you're gonna swim, but you have an anchor tied to you as you're trying to swim, and then you're running, but then like your shoes have holes in them and stuff, right? Like, so it's like you can do it, but man, I wish Atlassian made this stuff better, because it's just very basic. It's very primitive stuff that you can do here, but there are plugins that you can enable or purchase, right, that really augment this experience. So we'll talk a little bit about them in future videos, but I am going to be kind of doing dedicated videos on just the gadgets and dashboards. So make sure you're liked and subscribed so that you don't miss out on that. Now, people, I have yet to find a reason to use people. If you're on the premium version, you're going to get another thing between people and people and apps called plans. In there's a shared teams. That one is very valuable. I'm going to be upgrading to premium in a future video where I'm going to show you how to upgrade and like go through those motions. So when we do that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you everything about plans, because again, plans or advanced roadmaps is how Jira calls them, is one of the most powerful features in Jira as well. And if you're not on premium, that single-handedly is probably going to be the only reason why I would encourage you to upgrade to premium, because the power you get there is just astronomical. So we're going to be talking about that. And then apps here are your basically any external plugin, whether it's a free or paid, right? There's sometimes, mostly, not all the time, but mostly they'll show up here in this app. So if you want to, that's one of the cool things too about Jira, is that maybe not you directly, but your site administrators or your owners, right? Because some of them are paid, so you need somebody that's going to be willing to accept that charge. But these apps here really augment the Jira experience, right? So there's pretty much an app for everything. There's a huge marketplace that Atlassian makes or has, and I think it's super powerful, right? There's going to be some cheap stuff, there's going to be some free stuff, and there's going to be some very expensive stuff. So feel free to take a look, right? There's over 1,000 apps in here. These really do help, right? And so there's like this expensive stuff like Script Runner for Jira. It's probably one of the bigger time savings, but it's also one of the most expensive ones. Mine's going to be free because it's $0 for the first 10 users, but for most organizations, Script Runner is like the most expensive plugin you can have. But when you enable it, right, it shows up under apps. So we'll talk about all those later when we have dedicated videos for different plugins. So again, hundreds of videos coming your way because we're going to be going deep into Jira. And that's pretty much it. I think we're going to wrap this up here. In the next video, we're going to go back to a project, and we're going to talk about the left pane here. So once you're in a project, we're going to talk about what each of these things are. And we're going to be talking about this big blue create button, right? We'll talk about this, and then we'll kind of finish going off the right side here. But for this video, I just wanted to cover these different navigations and what they all mean and what you can do with them. So again, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't liked, dropped a like in this video, please do so. It really does help me out and encourages me to make even more of these videos for you. And most importantly, if you have any questions about this, right, make sure you drop a comment and I'll try to address it. But if you want to hire me, in the description of this video, you're going to see my website information and my contact info so that you can get a hold of me, because I basically do this for a living, right? I help people. I am Dr. Jira, right? I come and help alleviate your Jira problems, right? So if you need that immediate painkiller, you know something's wrong with your Jira, you just need some immediate relief, make sure you reach out, right? I guarantee you that it is worth your time to pay my rate to help you fix this problem, right? Because a lot of people complain about Jira just not being the tool for them, but it's because you just don't know how to make Jira work for you, right? And so I have over 5 years of experience using Jira. So leverage that knowledge that I have. I've been exposed to hundreds of teams, hundreds of different business cases. So I know how to mold Jira to work for you. So please, please, please do take advantage of that. I know the rate's a little expensive, but I guarantee it's going to be worth your time and effort. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to sit down with you, take a look at your Jira problems, and give you that immediate relief that you are looking for. So with that said, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you drop a comment. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.